perilous night. At the ramparts we watched was the gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave,
IU Democrats have been speaking out, including recently at the State House, against the horrendous bill that would strip students to use their IDs to vote in the state of Indiana. And our great allies in the fight, we need more young leaders to come out and speak their truths in this moment. So first we'll have John.
A lot of people are conflicted with their thoughts on Todd Young. A lot of people see him as not the worst of the worst, just because he hasn't agreed with the Republicans on every single issue. But just because you aren't the worst of the worst doesn't make your voting record any more excusable. Personally, for me, I'm not conflicted. I look at Todd Young's voting history, and I see a man who does not care about the American people. People can say all they want about what he has done, but when you look at his voting history, you see a man who time and time again has put party over people. In the last few months alone, Todd Young has been extremely horrible. Todd has voted for every single Donald Trump appointee to a cabinet position. Every single one. How are you going to tell me that Todd Young cares about the American people when he voted for the Attorney General in Pam Bondi, who believes that everyone in the Justice Department's allegiance should be to Donald Trump instead of the rule of law? How are you going to tell me that Todd Young cares about the American people when he voted for Linda McMahon as the Education Secretary, when he knew her and Donald Trump's plan were to abolish the Education Department? How are you going to tell me that he cares about the American people when he voted for RFK Jr. to be the Health and Human Service Secretary? He voted for a man who does not believe your children need to be vaccinated to lead the Health and Human Services Department. For me, it's very clear. Todd Young does not care about the American people, and he doesn't care about us Hoosiers. If he did, he wouldn't have voted for Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, who's been a big advocate and advisor on Trump's tariff plan. This is a tariff plan that has sent us into an economic disaster that we have not seen since COVID. It's such a horrendous plan that we haven't seen numbers this terrible since a global pandemic. Todd Young's actions are hurting Hoosiers' pockets. The entire Trump administration is backed by Todd Young. So while he might have done some decent things in the past, he's done extensive harm. You can do great things and still be a horrible public servant. And that's what Todd Young is, a tremendous politician, but a horrendous public servant. Politics should be about the people, not about the party, and Todd Young does not understand that. And that's why we shouldn't hesitate or be conflicted of calling him out, because while he didn't vote for every awful thing that was put before him, he was damn near close to. If you vote for bad legislation, we should be calling you out on that, and that's exactly what we're doing here today. We are calling his horrendous voting record. We need to hold a mirror to Todd and tell him that he's not properly representing us. None of us want any of those atrocious cabinet picks that Todd Young has voted for. And that's just it. We have seen this with this man's voting record, mistake after mistake, that tells us that he does not properly represent the American people, and he definitely doesn't properly represent us Hoosiers. So when Todd Young comes to Bloomington, we're going to let him know that he's doing a horrendous job at representing us. This is a man who doesn't represent our beliefs, who doesn't represent our ideals or the community that we want to build in this country and in this state. This is a problem that he needs to fix, and he needs to do it right now, or we will make that fix come November.
Yes.
Up next, we'll have Isaac Chapman, Outreach Coordinator for IU Democrats. I guess we will. Never. All right. Morning, everybody.
Good morning!
We are here today because we wish to affirm an America of high purpose and of high ideals. Those same high purpose and ideals that Americans at home and abroad have struggled and died for, with monuments like that right in front of us and here on this courthouse, and memorials across this country and across the state of Indiana give homage to. There's a lot to say about the politics and policies of today and of this present government. As I speak to you right now, there is an American in a prison in another country, and wrongly deported, and the president of that country called it a preposterous question of him being returned in the Oval Office, and the President of the United States said nothing.
Shame!
Under any other president, the Marines would have been in San Salvador in under an hour. To me, many of the issues that we face at present can go beyond politics, beyond the General Assembly's attempts at property tax reform, saying in air quotes, goes beyond any their fix to education, which is to gut public schools and give vouchers to families that don't need it, instead of, if they want to do vouchers to families who do need it, or fund public schools. Again, going beyond the legitimate policy debates going on. And since the election, I have wondered, what can I do? And since the election, the day after, I woke up actually more hopeful about the future, more hopeful about what I can do to make a difference here in my community, here in the state of Indiana, and here in the United States of America, because I went and knocked doors, especially with Josh Montag. He helped train me, knocked doors. Made phone calls, and had the opportunity to work with a group like the Indiana Rural Summit, advocating for Hoosiers in rural communities, knocking doors in rural communities, where at least a formalized opposition hasn't been seen, well, since I've been born, when we last had a Democratic governor 20 years ago. And so since this past election, I wonder, what can I and others do? And to sum up my belief now today, back to 1961, when President Kennedy said to the American people, "In your hands, my fellow citizens, more than mine, will rest the final success or failure of our course." It is in our hands, not in whoever the Democratic nominee for president in 2028 will be, not in any president or any individual politician. There's only so much one person can do. It is in our hands to make the change that we wish to see. And that's all easier said than done. And it is indeed a scary time for many Americans here today. But I still find faith. And to close, I return to the Athenian statesman Pericles, who said in his funeral oration, "Make up your minds that happiness depends on being free, and freedom depends on being courageous." So I invite all of you
I ask of you, will you be courageous in the next 2 years, to the next election in 2026, and in 2027 for the municipal elections, and in 2028 for the presidential elections, and beyond? Will you join me in that effort? Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America and the state of Indiana.
Let's see your signs, everybody.
Thank you,
with a
Josh
sign
and
up.
Isaac. Really, I should have introduced myself before. My name is Zach Harrison. I work with Michelle Higgs for the Indiana Rural Summit. We believe that people from across the political spectrum and rural communities across the state of Indiana need to come together in this moment. We started organizing last year and had 8 rural summits and 12 House candidates that encompassed over 26% geographically of the state of Indiana. Now, we stand here because we see a state house that wants to give access to private schools to the same funds that are supposed to fund our public schools. We see a voucher program that is going to add only 44,000 more kids, and they expect us to believe that that is going to mean that all kids have fair access to a public education. We have a state house that wants to gut Healthy Indiana plan or make higher standards through people's employers to get access to said plans, and expect that we're not going to pay attention. We had recently at the State House hundreds of teachers, educators, healthcare providers at the State House because they said, we will not be silent. We will not let you take away our rights as parents, as community leaders, as farmers. In Scottsburg, where I was recently, we heard from a farmer and community leader where this administration in Washington has frozen federal grants for our farmers in the state of Indiana and in states in the Farm Belt across the country. He told us that if those funds aren't unfrozen, the damage that will be done to our farm infrastructure, to our food costs in Indiana, will be catastrophic. We also have a federal farm bill that is reauthorized every 5 years that will expire in just under 4 months. It will do irreparable damage, especially for transportation. There are other states that rely on our farmers and our farm belt to have affordable food in some of our neighboring states and communities. We will not stand idly by. And so I ask you to join us, not just in this moment, but through this year into next year. Like in Scottsburg, there's a community gathering of the 24th in Salem, Indiana, and many, many more. And the Rural Summit wants to work with anyone who wants to see a State House leadership in the governor's office, in the State House and in the State Senate that fights for their communities, that stands up and listens when we say we have had enough, when we have a minimum wage that is one of the lowest in the country for decades, when we have a supermajority that believes, once again, that private schools are the future, that believe that healthcare is not a human right. Well, it is, and we will keep standing up until we get the leaders and the community that stands up with them. Who will stand with us? I would now like to introduce the organizer that made the reality of the Rural Summit possible and is continuing in the fight, not just for her constituents that she hopes to represent in 2026 and beyond, but all rural Hoosiers and the communities across the state of Indiana. Michelle Higgs.
Hey everybody, if you have a sign, come up behind me. Hello Hoosiers, my name is We declare where there is no real justice. That there must be real justice. And there must be real peace. Therefore, we refuse to fear those different than us. We stand in solidarity with our neighbor. We will not hate one another. We will not surrender our humanity to a tyrant king and his council. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Whatever is done to me but not done with me is done to me." How many of you feel like what is happening for you is actually being done to you? Let's take our power back. Mic check. In this moment, we are building a nonviolent resistance movement. We know that when 3.5% of any given population commits to sustained nonviolent active participation, that community is transformed. To our elected representatives, hear us loud and clear. We are the 3.5%. We want no more profiteering. No more exploitation. No more unelected billionaires. No more wannabe kings and lords. We fear for our democracy. Therefore we dissent. To our fellow Hoosiers, join the 3.5%. We're building a resource hub to help you. It's called organizingindiana.org. It's created to connect you to organizations and one another, to build people power. We need to build people power. To recruit and support candidates. To run for elected office. Up and down the ballot. And win. So we can change policy in Indiana. To get out the vote in 2026. We must mobilize now. We need childcare. Mobilize. We need health care. Mobilize. We need housing. Mobilize. We need clean environments. Mobilize. We need jobs with livable wages. Mobilize. We need fully funded education. Mobilize. We need each other. Mobilize. Now in closing, when I say e pluribus unum, I want you to respond out of many one, okay? We're going to do this 3 times. Here we go. E pluribus unum, out of many one. E pluribus unum, out of many one. E pluribus unum, out of many one. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for coming out. So you heard Michelle, we need to mobilize, we need to take action. We have First Citizens United and Indiana Rural Summit handouts here to help you get into the fight and sign up for future alerts and events happening across Indiana. And we invite anyone who is interested down at the Convention Center 501 and Indivisible are organized outside where Todd Young and the Monroe County Chamber of Commerce are coming together for a meeting. So if you want to join them, please do not block traffic. Take the sidewalk across and down to the convention center. We stand with you, and God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America.